This morning is occupational therapist and co-director of Therapy Works Limited, and we are going to speak about fine motor skills and school readiness. So we are back talking about OT, and since parents are getting their kids registered for primary school and stuff like that, we want to talk about what does it take to be school ready.
So from an occupational therapy standpoint, we look a lot at their occupation. So what the child needs to be functional in school. So one of the areas we look at is fine motor skills.
So firstly, what exactly is fine motor skills? Could you define that for us?
Yeah, so fine motor skills are when you use your small muscles in your hand, your muscles in your upper extremity to do different tasks, like dressing, self-care skills, texting, writing with a pencil, down to hobbies, if you like to paint or you like to garden or you play an instrument, even sports. Those are all things that we need our fine motor skills for. So I kind of think of it as preschool gets the muscles and the coordination ready for primary school when they get ready to do the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. OT steps in when those kids aren't quite where they're supposed to be in time for primary school when it starts in September.
All right, so looking specifically at fine motor skills, what should parents make sure their child can do before school starts in September?
So getting ready for primary school, I would say they need to be able to write their name from memory. They should be able to write their alphabet A to Z.
Right.
Sometimes the kids mix up uppercase and common case still, so they might make a capital A and a common B, that sort of thing. They should also know how to write their numbers 1 to 9. They should be able to cut a little bit with the scissors. They should be able to draw a person with 6 to 8 body parts, and they should be able to do some of their self-care skills, like they should be able to manage their own clothing. They maybe can't tie shoes yet, but they can do buttons, they can do the Velcro on their shoes, that sort of thing.
All right, so what if your child is not able to do any of these skills that you mentioned before? Well,
this is kind of a nice time to look at it, especially if they're starting school in September. We have 9 months, well, almost 8 months now, to kind of get the kids ready. So I just tell the parents to pay a little extra attention. Today we're going to go through a few tips that they can do at home. But again, as always, there are kids who still need a little more intervention, or they're not quite getting the skills, even with the extra time parents are trying to do with them. And that's where occupational therapy eval might come into play, because at Therapy Works, this is one of our areas of specialty, so we can break down the activity so it's fun, because remember, their occupation is to play, so you want to keep it fun.
Yeah, that's their job.
Yes, that's their job. You don't want to stress the kids out too much. You want to make it based in play.
Okay. So can you give us some ideas for working with, like doing something like holding a pencil properly?
Sure. So this is, a typical pencil. We think kids could hold a pencil.
Right. So you brought a lot of
I brought a lot of supplies
today.
So I don't like to give kids pencils right away this big, because you'll get kids who start to write like this, or they'll have their elbow up, their shoulder up, that sort of thing. So first, when they're real little, I start with bits of crayons, so little tiny bits that are broken. So don't throw away those broken crayons, because it works on developing that pincer grasp.
Ah, okay.
So you're getting those fingers forward, because what you don't want is kids to hold a pencil like this, or even like this. That's where we're trying to get. This is our tripod grasp. It's when our thumb is bent. We say thumb is bent, the pointer points to tip, and we use the middle finger to kind of support it, and we tuck these fingers in. So that's our ideal grasp. But to get there, because if we give 3-year-olds pencils like this, they learn all sorts of ways to hold the pencil to write.
And they may form bad habits.
So I don't even like to give kids pencils until they're about 4. And then when I do, I like to give them little pencils, because there's not as much room to stick your fingers all over the place. They kind of have to go to that point. So some different ways to work on fine motor if you want to work on that pincer grasp. This is an easy one. I just took a string, and I put a little tape on the end to make a point, so the kids, and I cut up straws, and they can just put the straw on and pull it through. And you can see I can work on patterns too. It can be you can use Fruit Loops. They love when the Fruit Loops, because then they can eat it off the string. That's a good
so
one.
So make it fun for them.
Yeah.
There's the kind of incentive involved.
Yeah. This is the last one I like to do for getting ready for writing, is using Play-Doh or plasticine, and this is just a plastic knife from Picos or somewhere. But if you can,
it's nothing that's dangerous.
It's not a special Play-Doh branded knife. It's just, but when you work with cutting, you get that finger forward, and that's the same finger that you put forward for your finger when you're writing.
Ah, I see. So it all connects.
So using tools like Play-Doh tools to cut is a great way to work on those muscles, building those muscles.
All right. So can you give us ideas for practicing letters or numbers?
Sure. So kids a lot of times get tired of just doing worksheets and worksheets and worksheets. And I know when I was little, my worksheet would have an A, and then I have to make about 30 A's before I get to the next line. And it's, by the time I get to A number 10, it's a mess. And
it feels like penance, right?
Exactly. So there's lots of ways to work on letters and numbers and drawing. One of my favorite ways is to tell parents get a thing of shaving cream and put it smear it on the wall of your shower or your tub.
Right.
And the kids can practice doing the letters that way.
Oh, with the finger.
Yep.
So it's something a little more natural.
Exactly. You can get a stick at the beach and draw letters in the sand that way. And even a dry erase marker. you can put it on a mirror or a window, and that's a great way. So they're still practicing, but it doesn't feel like work because they're not on paper,
Right,
pencil.
because again, a child's occupation is to play.
Yes.
All right, so
Exactly.
Sarah, thank you for sharing what you've shared with us today, and we're definitely going to have you back next week to do things. But just before we close off, so you spoke about like writing with your finger and doing these things. What about, you said cutting earlier, using scissors. So is scissors something you want a preschooler to be using?
Yeah, and I think Trinity parents get a little nervous about scissors, and it's not a toy, so you don't let the kids grab the scissors and run around the house. It's something they do seated. But cutting is a really good, it's two hands. So if you have to use two hands to cut, it works on building those motor skills and that coordination. So just a quick way to show how to grade it.
Right.
I like to start with snipping with kids, moving up to cutting harder shapes.
All right.